Welcome to Arsenal, where the weapons and war machines of military history come to life. Today we explore the A-6 Intruder over North Vietnam during the Vietnam War, and the crews and opponents who gave it its reputation. A longer version of this story, with fact sheets and photos, is available in the print edition on LinkedIn or by email. You can also find more articles, podcasts, and resources at trackpads.com.
On the carrier deck, the ship is only a strip of light in a black South China Sea night. Somewhere beyond the bow, North Vietnam is hidden under cloud and rain, but an A-6 Intruder is already pointed into that darkness. The pilot and bombardier-navigator sit shoulder to shoulder beneath the bulbous canopy, strapped into ejection seats and surrounded by the green glow of instruments. Outside, the catapult crew hunches against the wind, wands cutting through the night as they guide the intruder into the shuttle. Arsenal is the Friday feature of Dispatch United States Military History magazine.
The aircraft shudders as power comes up. Steam curls across the deck. The edge of the carrier blurs, and the catapult launches the intruder forward in a violent rush. Within seconds, the ship disappears behind them, swallowed by cloud. There are no stars, no horizon, and no visible sea. The pilot flies on instruments alone, while the bombardier-navigator works radar and navigation displays, building a path through weather toward a target that may look like nothing on the scope, but matters deeply in the mission brief.
Far inland, search radars sweep and gun crews wait. The intruder comes in low, beneath much of the worst radar coverage, heavy with bombs and dependent on its all-weather systems to put those weapons where they need to go. The crew may never see the target with their own eyes, but flak, missiles, and tracer fire will be unmistakable when they arrive. For this aircraft and these two people, the mission is the point where a design promise either holds up or fails under fire.
That night launch grew from a Cold War problem that predated Vietnam. The United States Navy needed a way to strike important targets at long range, in darkness and bad weather, without waiting for clear skies. Early jet attack aircraft could carry nuclear or conventional weapons, but they were often limited by range, payload, and primitive navigation and radar systems. In heavy cloud, rough coastline, or monsoon conditions, those limits became real gaps in the fleet's striking power.
At the same time, Soviet naval forces and land-based missile sites were becoming more dangerous. Carrier air wings needed an aircraft that could hit ships at sea and hardened facilities ashore, while the carrier remained well offshore. That demanded a difficult combination: serious payload, long range, and the ability to navigate, find, and hit targets without visual cues. Propeller-driven aircraft such as the Skyraider had endurance and toughness, but not the speed or electronics the Navy wanted. Lighter attack jets were nimble, but they could not carry enough fuel, ordnance, and all-weather systems for the hardest missions.
By the late 1950s, the Navy asked for an all-weather attack aircraft that could make carrier decks useful in any season and any ocean. It needed 2 crew members, a powerful radar and navigation suite, and the ability to haul a large bomb load deep inland at low altitude. From that requirement, the A-6 Intruder began to take shape, not as a sleek fighter, but as a carrier-based strike machine built to work when weather and darkness should have protected the target.
Grumman's engineers answered the requirement with a design that looked very different from the thin, fast jets of the era. They chose long range, heavy loads, and steady handling over top speed. The broad wings and deep fuselage gave the aircraft the lift, fuel, and internal space needed for its mission. Side-by-side seating let the pilot and bombardier-navigator share the same panel and talk quickly over a crowded cockpit. That choice mattered because the intruder's real weapon was not only its bomb load, but the electronics that helped 2 people put that load on target. The integrated navigation and attack system drove many of the aircraft's trade-offs.
Radar, navigation sensors, and a bombing computer had to work together while the Intruder flew through darkness, rain, and turbulence. Those systems required space, cooling, electrical power, and maintenance access, which made the aircraft bulky compared with more elegant designs. The payoff was an airplane that could find and strike targets when older aircraft would have been grounded or guessing. It was not a sports car. It was a hard-working truck built for the carrier air wing.
At a glance, the A-6 Intruder was a twin-engine, two-seat, all-weather attack aircraft built for the United States Navy and Marine Corps. The pilot sat on the left, the bombardier-navigator on the right, working radar scopes, navigation displays, and attack controls. Under the wings, the Intruder could carry thousands of pounds of ordnance on multiple pylons, including bombs, mines, rockets, and later guided weapons. It cruised at high subsonic speed and had the reach to let carriers stay offshore while still striking deep inland.
Seen on the flight line, the A-6 looked compact but purposeful. Its rounded nose held radar and sensors, its broad wings were packed with flaps and high-lift devices, and its sturdy landing gear was built for hard carrier work. Inside, the cockpit was cramped but effective. The pilot managed attitude, altitude, speed, and the pressures of low-level flight. The bombardier-navigator refined position, attack timing, communications, and sensor use. Training diagrams made the division of labor look clean. Combat blurred it into constant talk, cross-checking, and shared problem-solving. Behind the crew, avionics bays and wiring supported the aircraft's all-weather heart. The bombing computer combined radar returns, navigation data, and aircraft motion to determine when weapons should be released, even if cloud, smoke, or darkness hid the target. Defensive systems warned of hostile radar, and later chaff and flares gave crews more ways to react. In practice, low-level flight over mountains and jungle meant living inside the instruments, trusting green-lit scopes more than anything outside the canopy. Maintainers carried much of that burden before each launch. Salt air, vibration, hydraulic leaks, and tight access panels made the aircraft demanding to keep ready, especially during high-tempo cruises. A single fault in the navigation and attack system could turn an all-weather strike aircraft into a much less precise machine. The crews who flew the Intruder depended on the sailors and Marines who kept those systems alive between missions, often in darkness, heat, noise, and exhaustion. The Intruder's true test came when carriers on Yankee Station began sending it across the beach into North Vietnam. A typical mission began with a night or bad weather launch, a climb to organize with other aircraft, and then a descent into weather and darkness. Early targets included rail lines, bridges, fuel depots, storage sites, and transportation networks that kept the North Vietnamese war effort moving. Crews flew through river valleys, over rice fields, and around hills that often looked like clutter on a radar display, but had to be read accurately if the strike was to arrive on time. As Rolling Thunder unfolded, Intruder squadrons became central to some of the fleet's most demanding missions. Their aircraft could carry heavy conventional bomb loads far inland in conditions that limited other types. Crews saw little outside except scattered ground lights or the sudden flash of anti-aircraft fire, yet they pressed in through barrage fire and the threat of missiles. Turning back was not simply a personal choice. It could mean leaving other aircrews exposed or a critical target untouched.
A representative mission might send 2 Intruders against a supply route feeding defenses near Hanoi. Tankers extended their reach, fighters worked ahead of them, and the A-6 crews descended for a radar-referenced run with unguided bombs. The lead bombardier-navigator called fixes and corrections, while the pilot held the profile through turbulence and flak. The wingman fought to stay in position, both aircraft jinking enough to complicate enemy aim while preserving timing for the drop. Seconds after release, explosions walked across the target area, and the section turned hard for the sea. For the crews inside, the run compressed time.
The pilot had to keep altitude, speed, and heading stable enough for the attack system, while still jinking against fire. The bombardier-navigator had to trust the radar picture and the bombing computer, even when instinct wanted a visible target. Both men knew that one navigational error could put them over the wrong ridge, into the wrong gun belt, or past the release point, with no easy second chance.
Combat proved the Intruder's value and exposed its costs. When the systems worked and the crew performed well, the carrier air wing could reach targets protected by weather, darkness, and distance. But every successful run demanded exposure to dense anti-aircraft guns, small arms, and surface-to-air missiles. A lost Intruder meant not only an aircraft, but two highly trained specialists. The A-6 earned its reputation as an all-weather workhorse, trusted with some of the fleet's hardest jobs, and remembered for the risks those jobs required.
The aircraft's reputation therefore grew in two directions at once. To commanders, it was a dependable way to reach difficult targets. To crews, it was a capable machine that asked a great deal of the people inside it. The Intruder did not remove fear from night attack. It gave trained aircrews a way to keep flying and fighting through that fear with instruments, discipline, and trust.
Its strengths were clear to those who flew it. Payload and range let a small number of aircraft deliver serious striking power while the carrier stayed offshore. The side-by-side cockpit made the pilot and bombardier-navigator a true team, able to share information quickly under pressure. The broad wings and strong structure gave the aircraft stable handling at low altitude in rough air. Its flexible loadout let the same basic airframe handle interdiction, close support, mining, and maritime strike missions with changes in configuration.
Those strengths also made the Intruder valuable beyond any single target set. It could be planned into a strike package as a lead attack aircraft, a bad weather option, or a dependable hauler of ordnance when the mission demanded weight on target. Marine intruders operating from land bases brought the same all-weather logic to expeditionary operations. Across both services, crews came to see the aircraft as demanding but honest. If they respected the systems, prepared the route, and worked as a crew, it gave them a real chance to hit what they were sent to hit.
The weaknesses were just as real. The electronics that made the Intruder valuable were complex and sometimes temperamental, especially in the early years. They required skilled maintainers and patient crews to keep them within useful limits. Low-level flight did not make the aircraft invulnerable. It still had to run through flak, small arms, and missile envelopes. The Intruder had no internal gun and relied on speed, maneuvering, planning, and support from other aircraft when things went wrong. Enemy defenders respected it because it threatened important targets, but they also learned to concentrate guns and missiles along likely approaches.
As experience accumulated, the Intruder family evolved. Improvements to navigation and attack systems smoothed some early frustrations, and later models gained better radars, computers, and targeting equipment. Some variants added sensors that improved performance in low light and complex terrain. Structural upgrades, including strengthened and later composite wings, helped keep the aircraft in service long after Vietnam. The basic concept remained recognizable: a twin-engine, side-by-side, all-weather attack platform built to put ordnance on target when conditions were at their worst.
The airframe also supported related roles. Tanker versions helped refuel fighters and strike aircraft, extending the reach of the carrier air wing. A related electronic warfare aircraft shared much of the Intruder's DNA, but traded bombs for jammers and surveillance systems, escorting strike packages and disrupting enemy radars. In that way, the Intruder family shaped not only how the Navy dropped bombs, but how it managed fuel, navigation, and the invisible fight in the electromagnetic spectrum.
That wider family mattered, because carrier warfare is never only about the aircraft dropping bombs. A strike package needs fuel, electronic protection, navigation, timing, and the confidence that each part of the formation can do its job. The Intruder airframe proved adaptable enough to support several pieces of that system, making it more than a single-purpose attack aircraft. It became part of the Navy's larger way of projecting power from the sea in difficult conditions. By the time the A-6 left frontline service, its core ideas had already shaped naval aviation: all-weather strike, long reach from the carrier, reliable navigation systems, and close crew coordination became essential expectations rather than special features. Newer aircraft brought precision weapons and more advanced sensors, but they operated inside a framework the Intruder had helped define. Lessons from Vietnam, including the danger of low-level work in dense air defenses, carried forward into training and doctrine.
Today, preserved Intruders sit on museum ramps, former carrier decks, and outdoor display pads, with wings folded as if weighing for launch. Visitors can see the bomb racks, refueling probe, broad wings, and compact cockpit windows that framed the world for two-person crews flying through monsoon cloud and tracer fire. The aircraft also lives on in photographs, video, oral histories, and companion dispatch features that tell the stories of those who launched, armed, repaired, and flew it. The A-6 Intruder's legacy rests not only in its systems and performance, but in the people who trusted it when weather closed in and night fell.